So how did you watch the Parker fight?
Oh, my mate, he was Snapchatting half the fight, and then I watched the rest on Box Nation live stream, caught some highlights on Twitter, and then the next day there was a full replay on YouTube, so I just kicked back, bacon and eggs, and just watched the fight again.
And did you enjoy the fight?
Yeah, it was alright, eh? Bit of a flurry here and there, but now I just want to go to Samoa, eh? Just all those ads, just malos.
Kia ora, kia kaha. Let's get hard and fast into the show wildcard because I have a left jab that goes hard and fast. Joseph Parker's got a left jab that goes incredibly hard and fast as well as our boxing aficionado. How do you view the Joseph Parker win over Andy Ruiz Jr. for the World WBO?
That's the one. Well, I think Andy Ruiz also has a very hard and fast left jab, which didn't do him too many problems. Doesn't have the feet that Joseph Parker has, though, and I think even though you saw Ruiz dominate the first few rounds, as he tired, wasn't able to sustain the same sort of amount of, the flurries of punches that Parker was, and you saw Ruiz having to settle, having walked him around quite a bit at the start. You saw him having to fall back into the old counter-punching method. Still fought a very good fight and was unlucky to lose. I actually had it tied. I had it at 114, as did one of the judges on the scorecards. But when I watched it back the next day, I did think that Parker probably snuck a couple of those rounds that I had given to Ruiz. So I think the result was fair enough. On the whole, I think it was the fairest way to decide the fight. It
was a polarizing one because on the one hand you had Joseph Parker controlling the distance with his jab, but then it always felt like
a little bit of both.
Yeah, it always felt like Ruiz was moving forward.
Yeah,
he was always attacking, and then Parker would land a punch, and then Ruiz would land 2 or 3. Like straight away. So it was a bit, it's polarized the nation in a way as well because, some people think he should have won. Some people think he didn't. So, but hey, we're talking about boxing.
Yeah, I think it's dumb to get too upset about a points decision. Like, clearly it was close. One judge scored it a draw. So whichever way it goes, as long as it's close, is fair enough. That's how it works. And you say what you want about hometown decision, but I happen to know it was actually in the sort of restrictions that Ruiz's side, Top Rank, Bob Arum and them, had stipulated was that they wanted a neutral ref, or not necessarily, I think it was an American ref. They wanted just one of the best refs they could get, but 3 neutral judges. So no one from New Zealand, no one from Mexico, also no one from America, and no one from Australia, just in case they're a little bit too close. So there's no dramas.
And you also watched the 2 fights from England.
Several fights.
Yeah,
undercard.
What'd you make of those fights in the context of Joseph Parker now being one of the heavyweight world champions?
Yeah, the one that matters is Anthony Joshua, who took on Eric Molina, who is a American he's an Hispanic-American fighter, so he wouldn't quite have done the same as Ruiz had he been able to win with the first Mexican heavyweight title, but he would have at least been the first Hispanic-American heavyweight title holder, but as it happened, he had 0 chance of beating Anthony Joshua. Most people thought that coming in. Joshua, I think in the 3rd round, dropped him, and Molina had this look on his face as he fell down, like arms sort of stuck in the ropes, the only thing holding him up, and his eyes were just dead. Like he looked like not only did Joshua destroy his body with that punch, but he destroyed his soul as well, and he was shattered. He got back up and very quickly got knocked back down, and that was it. Joshua just clearly a class above. I think he's also still a class above Joseph Parker. I think if they fought tomorrow, Joshua would knock him out. Like, not just beat him, but I think he would knock him out. I think you saw against Ruiz, Parker, defensively, he does let himself get hit a few times. And Ruiz he's got good power, but he doesn't have elite, stinging, destroying, soul-crushing power like Joshua does. So I think he'd have trouble. But if you get him in a year's time, who knows how much better Parker will be. And he's going to be fighting better guys. He's going to be getting better over that time. So don't think there's anything to worry about. And he's not going to be fighting Joshua soon anyway, because Joshua, as they determined, we sort of knew this was going to happen anyway, but as Vladimir Klitschko after the fight jumps up into the ring, and they confirm right there and then that April something or other, Joshua versus Klitschko. That's the one to watch out for. Man.
What do you think is next for old Joseph Parker?
Whew. Well, that's a good question. And for the first time, we're not entirely in Juko's hands for this one. We've got a belt, and the WBO are going to be saying, we want you defending this thing. And they've already said they want him defending it within 120 days. So when Kevin Barry in the ring afterwards says, well, first thing we want is for Joseph to have a good old rest because he's earned it. Like, well, mate, you can't have too long of a rest because they want you fighting David Haye pretty soon. At least that was the word a month ago. However, David Haye is fighting Tony Bellew in April, so that's not going to happen. Next top-ranked challenger would probably be Huey Fury. The cousin of that other Fury fella. That one. So we don't know exactly what's going on there. Maybe he's going to be fighting Huey Fury. Personally, I don't see why they don't just organise a rematch with Ruiz. I think both sides would be pretty happy with that. There's also the possibility of a unification bout against Deontay Wilder when his hand is ready to go. One of the three.
Wooshka, I like it. There's but last question, do you think this win for Joseph Parker sent major waves through the heavyweight division around the world?
No, not major waves, but he's a name. He's recognised. He's a guy people are aware of. They would have taken notice of this victory. I think this victory is a better victory than any of Anthony Joshua's ones, albeit Anthony Joshua's ones are all like crushing knockout victories, every single one of them. But Ruiz is a better fighter than anyone that Joshua's fought. So I think it's very relevant. Don't necessarily know that he's the first name on everyone's wish list at the moment, though.
Nice work.
He's getting there.
We head over to Australia, where the Blackcaps got touched up by a tantalising Australian team. Dave Warner, Steve Smith in good form. You had the Australian bowlers doing their thing as well.
Yeah.
Important note that I'd like to make to everyone here is that we're judging, everyone hyped up the Blackcaps compared to what they did against Australia last time.
Yes.
When the team had Brendan McCullum, when the team had Grant Elliott, when the team had Ross Taylor. Three of the classiest, most experienced cricketers in New Zealand at that time. Corey Anderson goes all right as well. And suddenly those four players aren't there, but we expect the Blackcaps to do the same thing.
Yeah, a little bit warped there, eh? Just a little bit. I think they clearly missed Ross Taylor, having that sort of linchpin in the batting lineup.
Just a bit of control.
Someone to bridge the top order and the middle order, get you into your all-rounders. Also a person who scores at a good rate. We didn't really have that. We had Neesham batting at 4, so we're straight into the all-rounders there. Neesham goes all right with the bat. He's not the worst ODI batsman.
I think Neesham's not an all-rounder. He's a batsman.
I hate his bowling, so I agree with you.
Fair enough.
Especially when they bowled him in the death. I think the other thing is something you touched on in your write-up of the series. We sort of didn't see until the third ODI when it was a dead rubber, where Williamson actually went all in for the aggressive approach with the old captaincy, with the field placements, with some of the bowling changes, this kind of stuff. Bowled himself as well. Too little, too late?
Too little, too late indeed. And that's the, there was a bit of excitement. They set the leg side trap for Stephen Smith and Aaron Finch. A couple of plans worked. They had definite plans, which is exciting, even though it shouldn't be exciting because that should always be the case. But you can't judge the Blackcaps on exciting things like that because why weren't you doing it in the first 2 games? And I think that's just because they have a whole lot of players who are A, at the start of their ODI careers, and B, they haven't faced Australia in Trans-Tasman ODI cricket, which is a little bit different to playing Pakistan in Aotearoa last summer, or facing Sri Lanka in Aotearoa.
Or Bangladesh next up.
Yeah, those are reasonably marshmallow series. Whereas if you go to Australia, much bigger boundaries, bit of abuse, bit of verbals from the Bay 13 and so on and so forth. It's just a completely different kettle of fish. And I think that's why, some context, this Blackcaps ODI team is at a completely different stage of their journey compared to the Australian team, because the Australian team, David Warner, Aaron Finch, Steve Smith, George Bailey, Mitch Marsh, Matthew Wade, Josh Hazlewood, Mitchell Stark, they've been in the team for 2-3 years together. James Faulkner, been in the team for a long time as well. So as a group, they've been together for a long time. Maybe if this Blackcaps team had Ross Taylor, Corey Anderson doing their thing in that team, and maybe a powerful wicketkeeper batsman hitting a few boundaries.
Yeah.
Glenn Phillips, Tom Blundell, Dane Cleaver, Tim Seifert, Cameron Fletcher, all in the mix there.
Couple developing options.
It might be a different story, but no need to get too down about this Blackcaps performance. It It was just a tough ODI series, and I think they're all going to be better off for the experience. Kane Williamson's going to be a better captain moving forward. Martin Guptill's got the confidence back.
Yeah.
He's blazing away. Plenty of...
Lockie Ferguson won't bowl so many no balls.
Jimmy Neesham can bat number 4 in international cricket. Like, there's a few low-key
Maybe
positive
5.
signs. Well, Ross Taylor comes
Maybe
back.
number 5.
My little situation here is Ross Taylor and Corey Anderson come back.
Yes.
Suddenly, maybe the 2 Collins have to drop out.
Yeah. That's an interesting one. I quite like the Collins.
Yeah, they go all right, but neither of them's Ross Taylor.
No.
Neither of them's
You've
Corey
probably
Anderson.
only got room for one Colin anyway. Well, Anderson could come in for Neesham. I don't mind that. I think both of them are probably at the moment batsmen who can bowl a little in ODIs. But Anderson, if he's fit enough to bowl, he's a better ODI bowler. That's just such a bloody question, because when's he going to be bowling again is the problem.
But see, even if Anderson's not bowling, I'd be happy with Kane Williamson, Ross Taylor, Jimmy Neesham, Corey Anderson.
I like Colin Munro in there, but he's got to earn the spot is the thing. Maybe in the home thing. Did you... I know a lot of people said this. I wasn't as upset about the supposed lack of in the field, the fielding dropping down a little bit, the discipline a little bit lower with some mistakes, a few no balls, a few wides, maybe just the overall energy of the team being down a little bit. I thought a lot of those were kind of flowing on from other effects, chasing big totals every time they went into bat, fielding against batsmen who were just absolutely pummeling, having a bowling attack that's not 100% top strength. Like, I thought those were more flow-on effects than things we got to worry about through the future. Not
Indeed,
ideal.
I think it just... Because as Kiwi cricket fans, we're used to not having the best Kiwi cricket team in the world. And so what we hang our head up on
is that we try the hardest.
As we try hard, we're battlers.
We do the basics.
We're a really good fielding team. And so when those things aren't there, the Kiwi battler fan tends to get a bit upset and a bit ruthless in their perception of the series. You're saying about the bowling attack, Matt Henry is one of the best bowlers in the world in ODI cricket. Like, he's coming off a hot summer last summer. Tim Southey is apparently one of the best in the world. Trent Bolt's apparently one of the best of the world. My question to you now, Wildcard, is are you taking Tim Southey or Josh Hazlewood?
I will take old Hazelbags.
Are you taking Mitchell Starc or Trent Bolt?
I'll take Starkers for that one.
Are you taking Pat Cummins or Matt Henry / Lockie Ferguson?
Give me Paddy.
I rest my case. Like, this Australian team's just better.
Yeah, well, you know what Matt Henry's figures were? Something along the lines of, I think did he bowl up both times or something? He went for 162 runs in 2 games. It's not good, especially coming after some dodgy test form as well. We're seeing a bit of a curve for him. He's just got to sort of plough through that one. Speaking of which, similar little couple of hiccups going on in the career of New Zealand's Princess of Sport, Lydia Ko. Dropped the caddy a little while ago, dropped a coach just recently. What's up? What's going on?
Well, it's probably I'd put this down as growing pains of one of the world's sporting phenoms. I definitely, like, athletes, they just want to always get better. And sometimes you just need to switch things up. Lydia Ko didn't have the best finish to the 2016 LPGA Tour. In each of my updates of Lydia Ko's season, it started off really well. Didn't really drop outside the top 10. Then she starts to slip to like 10th, 11th, 15th. Then the Olympics hit. She wins silver medal. And then after that, she's finishing tied for 40th, tied for 25th, and so on. And that's when you saw a lot of the troubles. I say troubles, but I don't know what the troubles are. But there was something was wrong. She gives her caddy the flick. She gives her coach the flick. And she moves on to try be a better female golfer.
Yeah, fair enough. Her coach's name is David Ledbetter, which I only find relevant because I like my favourite Pearl Jam song is Yellow Ledbetter. I keep hearing that in my head every time I see the fella's name. But I have been seeing his name a few times because he's been talking. He got the sack and he's been talking. He says that her family's a little too intrusive, a little too involved, a few too many fingerprints on her career. Is that a real thing? I mean, even if it is a real thing, is that a bad thing?
You talk that shit, David. There's a few points on that. And it's interesting because I did hear the split, how Lydia Ko splits her prize money, so the whole family gets a cut.
Yeah.
And that shows, I think it's a cultural thing in the Korean.
Doesn't sound any different to me than Steven Adams getting drafted a year earlier because he knew he could help his family out a year sooner, you know?
Yeah, and it's just a cultural thing that perhaps some other cultures like us, Palangi Pakeas, we might not fully comprehend that. So I think if you're getting a female golfer who's 19 years old, so her parents still have a massive role to play in her life as a 19-year-old, I think you're going to have fairly strong opinions. And golf is similar to tennis in that the parents are there a whole lot more. They're funding the junior program of their son or daughter. They're traveling with their son or daughter, so there's always someone there. So I think golf and tennis lend themselves to much more parental involvement, whether it's negative or positive. I think those sports compared to football, rugby, cricket, where you're just kind of dropping your son off at training, blah, blah, blah. Whereas golf and tennis, you're there, you're watching because you're paying for that private training session and you're heavily invested in how your son or daughter goes. And I think it just sets up a situation where Lydia Ko's the best golfer in the world. Male or female, I reckon.
Yeah, sure.
She's the hottest golfing prospect in the world. Is David Ledbetter the best coach in the world? Is he the best golfer in the world? No, it's Lydia Ko. So Lydia Ko can do what she wants. And I think it kind of plays on the Kiwi battlerish elements as well, because people kind of perceive it as a bit of a prima donna act from Lydia Ko. And they aren't too happy with that. But Lydia Ko's just trying to be a better golfer wildcard.
Yeah, and I've got no problem with that. And I think probably, we've definitely seen in the past a few shocking tennis dads and stuff like that. But you've also seen Uncle Tony took Rafael Nadal for a while there being the best tennis player on the planet. And I think you probably find some of those, as you say, like cultural sides of things, the family being quite involved, the family pushing her and driving her. That's probably a lot of the reason of why she's so good in the first place. And that stuff always reminds me of old Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000 hours. You got to put in the hours. Who's there to make sure you put in the hours? Mummy and daddy.
Mummy and daddy, indeed. Wildcard. Lydia Ko, she was ranked 55th in tournaments played, which means that 54 female golfers played more tournaments than Lydia Ko. Guess where Lydia Ko finished up?
I know this one. Second
in prize money, second in the Race to CME Globe season, and the second in the Rolex ranking wildcard. 54 golfers finished higher in tournaments played, and Lydia Ko's second. And we're sitting here talking about her bloody coach. It's ridiculous. I've had enough of this.
Razzle dazzle, Doc. Where do we go from here?
I've got Conrad Hurrell for my razzle and dazzle because he just flipped the beast mode. Went to the Gold Coast Titans after leaving the New Zealand Warriors wildcard. And I've got a few stats from Conrad Hurrell's time at the Gold Coast Titans.
Fire away.
He averaged 4.2 carries a game, which had him leading the backs for the Titans with carries. So Conrad Hurrell took the most carries of any back for the Titans per game.
Oh, eat it, Jared Hayne.
He had 2 games fewer than 100 metres. He averaged 10.53 metres per carry. Again, over that 10 metre per carry threshold. And he averaged 1.2 offloads a game. So he's offloading with ease. And he had 27 tackle busts for the season, 2.7 tackle passes a game, which had him leading the Gold Coast Titans for tackle passes a game. Josh Hoffman was second with 2.56 tackle passes. Conrad Hurrell, basically the man.
Johnny, he's back. Big 2017 coming up for that lad. Same for this guy as well. My razzle dazzle is a guy by the name of Steven Adams. The other day against Houston, they lost the game, but he scored 24 points, had 10 rebounds, 24 points. That is his new personal best, beating what he set about a week earlier against the Lakers with a 20-pointer. Only played 29 minutes in that game. Didn't have a lot of impact in the fourth quarter as well, which is interesting because it shows you the ceiling's there. He could push that a little bit higher. So I did a little bit of research, not as much as I wanted to because it's painful stuff to look at, but I had a look at what the top Australian scorers are. And I noticed there's only a handful of guys who have ever scored more than 24 points or 24 or more. Luke Longy scored exactly 24, I believe, and Chris Ansie's, I think, had a 27 at some point, and Paddy Mills has done it a couple times. He's had a 27-point game. He's also got a 34-point game, which beat Andrew Bogut's 32-point game. So that's the target now, Stevie. You've got this far, 24 points. We know you could have done more had you played a few more fourth quarter minutes in that game, had you shot just a little bit better, maybe. He's getting there. He's not that far away, you know. Well, Paddy Mills is in his sights. Definitely bogey.
Stephen Adams, fair dinkum. He's a
fair dinkum.
Absolute geezer, old him.
Oh, mate. Imagine what we'd be hearing about him if he was Australian. Yikes.
We are in the lounge, wildcard, and if I may take a reading from my hip-hop Bible.
You absolutely may.
Coming from UGK, The Underground Kings, Murder 1996, it reads, "That brother bun rip with one clip, soon as the guns slip. Now I done whipped out my Borelli, flying through your pelly, and some smelly red jelly is dripping out of your belly. Served them up like a deli, and jumped on my cellular telly."
That's some rapid fire right there. Woo! Oh boy. Reading, watching, listening. Can I start? I want to say I've been reading a tweet by Tyson Fury.
Hit mate.
Okay, so this is what Tyson Fury sent out the other day. Bear in mind, the bout that Joseph Parker won, vacated by Mr. Tyson Fury. This is what the Gypsy King himself, which is his Twitter handle, this is what he said. Quote, "All these bums got world bouts because of one man. Hashtag Gypsy King. Comma. Remember that. Full stop. It's getting embarrassing the amount of bums they find. Full stop. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark." There you go.
All power to the Gypsy King.
Hey, he's earned his right to say his piece. He just hasn't earned his right to get back in the ring yet.
Now I'm curious to know who the New Zealand Gypsy King is.
Jason Nightingale.
Jason, that's a good answer. I was going to say
Gypsy.
Jerry Dactyl.
One or the other.
Reading Elite, who executive produced J. Cole's new album For Your Eyes Only, and he kind of drops a bit of behind the scenes information in the written form. Hold that thought. About how J. Cole came to a few concepts, a song called Neighbors, which J. Cole bought a house down in North Carolina so that him and his label mates, Dreamville label mates, could go down there, record music amongst the woods and just be free away from the big city lights. And then all the neighbors in the affluent area started finding all these black men hanging out, smoking weed on the front lawn. Next minute, a SWAT team's arriving, FBI teams arriving to search the house, and drama ensues just because these guys bought a house in an affluent area.
It sounds like what the Rolling Stones did when they got kicked out of England. Well, they didn't get kicked out; they just couldn't go back because they hadn't been paying taxes for ages. So they Keith Richards rented a big old bloody mansion in France, which, as it happened, used to be it had been controlled in the 40s by a bunch of Nazis occupying Paris. So there were like swastikas hanging from the wall. I assume they had to take a few of those down, but they held up, and they over a few months they did Exile on Main Street. It's the best thing they ever did. What's up next? Watching, I guess. I watched a documentary called Gonzo: The Life and Work of Hunter S. Thompson. It was on Netflix. I love anything to do with Hunter S. Thompson. Every time I read something, watch something about him, old YouTube clips, get buried in that stuff, or just reading his books and some of his articles, it always makes me want to be a better writer, Doc. And it also makes me want to reread Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, so I might just do that after this, to be honest.
While you're doing that, I'm going to be watching either the J. Cole Eyes kind of mini documentary,
Righto.
about behind-the-scenes footage from his new album, which Elite, his producer, was talking about. But before that, I'm watching Absol interviews because Absol just dropped a new album. So you got new album from Absol, you got a new album from J. Cole, you got a new album from CJ Fly, all on the same day. Craziness in the hip hop world. But Absol drops some freakish knowledge in numerous interviews, just about churches, about staying smart and providing just straight bars and the state of hip hop and all sorts of stuff. Absol is probably, arguably, maybe, definitely just the most smartest, wisdomful.
The most smartest, wisdomful.
Yeah, genius.
He's so smart, he's got a more succinct way to say that.
Yeah.
On that topic, I saw old Vince Staples has been in the country hanging around. He did some stuff with RNZ, popped into the studio. That was pretty handy watch / listen to. I've been listening to The Cramps, specifically their first album, Songs the Lord Taught Us, which is full of just like, it's not what it sounds like. It's just like grungy, old twangy, reverby sort of rock and roll with a gothic kind of twist. I don't know how to describe it. They call it psychobilly. Think punk rock meets 50s B-movie horrors meets Sun Records. Poison Ivy Rorschach, the guitarist, and Lux Interior, the lead singer, they were married. They were Lux is dead now, I think. We've gone back about 5 years, but they were the core of this band the whole time. Great band, love their stuff. Funny story, I actually first heard them on SpongeBob SquarePants, where they did a guest voice thing.
There you go. Shout out to SpongeBob SquarePants.
Of all the cultural leaders out there, SpongeBob, eh?
I reckon it's Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z, Ed, and Eddie, and SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yeah, fair enough.
Wildcard, I am listening to...
And the Angry Beavers.
And that too. I'm listening to Fat Freddy's Drop.
Not bad.
I went and got Baze, their album from a couple of months ago, a while back actually, and I've just been listening to it again, and it's just a beautiful piece of music that probably encapsulates New Zealand, Aotearoa music. Like, people ask you, what does New Zealand music, what does Kiwi music sound like? And I'm like, Fat Freddy's Drop seems like a pretty good idea. You know, it's just there's elements of funk, there's elements of reggae, bit of rock and roll, bit of, just kind of rappity, hippity hop sort of lyrics. There's the singing lyrics. It's just beautiful, mellow Kiwi tunes. And I'm putting Fat Freddy's Drop up there as just one of the best Kiwi musical items there has ever been.
Not bad. I'm a big fan of old Marlon Williams. He's doing good things these days. He's up there. Who else is on that list then? Dave Dobbin?
OMC?
OMC. How bizarre. Da 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 da. Classic.
Ooh, baby.
Ooh, baby.
Shout out to Otara.